Well, Rodger Corman's back at it, this time producing Lords of the Deep, the third underwater monster movie to come out in 1989. This time boasting an evil corporation, a dollar store version of HAL from 2001, and of course, an underwater monster. But is it a monster at all? Let's find out. First off, it tells us that by the year 2020, man has used up most of the Earth's resources. It turns out that they were close on that prediction, only off by a few years. Anyway, this has forced the human race to look for other places to survive. And why not the ocean? Nothing bad ever happens down there. Now we meet Claire, a scientist on board this underwater vessel. She's working on this strange goo that was found, and instead of testing it on animals or trying to study it at all, she decides to just take off her glove and dive right in. When she does, the goop sends her on this trip that only Cheech and Chong could handle. Later, we meet the commander, Dobler, and he's talking to the ship's computer, Trilby, who I trust just about as much as I trust my Alexa, but for some reason, I still have one in each room. Anyway, he calls the Martel Corporation and talks to his boss, who's played by Rodger Corman himself. Man, the guy's so cheap he couldn't even hire another actor. They talk about a replacement crew that's coming to relieve the current crew. However, this seems more like they're firing the current employees and not just giving them a break. It doesn't matter anyway, because there's an earthquake and they lose contact with the other crew. Chadwick goes outside into the water to make some repairs that happened during the earthquake, while Fernandez takes a mini-sub to check on the replacements. Meanwhile, everyone else is just cleaning up, and Claire notices that the goo she was just experimenting with fell to the ground and flew all over the place. But now, it's reassembled, and it seems to be sentient. Fernandez finds the lost crew, but it's weird. The hatch on their sub is open, but they're nowhere to be found. Cut over to Chadwick, who's finishing up on the repairs, and he gets the lights back on. But then something attacks him. He manages to get to the air dock and back inside the ship, but his body, it's gone. It's been replaced with some of that goo. After looking at it a little closer, they can tell that this is the same stuff Claire has been researching, and it isn't human. In fact, there isn't any traces of human tissue at all. Nothing left over from Chadwick. To further complicate things, no holes were found in his suit. It's just like he took it off and switched bodies with this thing.
But you know, there wasn't one hole on it. Anywhere.
The next morning, Claire goes into the lab to see that that goo is now forming into a creature. Some stingray-looking thing. One by one, the rest of the crew comes in and sees it, arguing about what to do next. Obviously, Claire wants to continue studying it, but Dobler has other plans. They're supposed to get out of here and head back to the surface immediately. And the creature? Well, the next crew will study it, but by then, it'll be more of an autopsy than anything else. Dobler sends Fernandez out to get the sub that the other crew was using, and maybe they can use that to get home. But he's attacked by a much larger stingray monster. They take out his ship, right next to the other one. At this point, Dobler has them all sign non-disclosure agreement forms. More corporate bullcrap. But Claire knows the world needs to see these things, and she refuses to sign. While they're doing that, the creature locked in the tank gets out, and is somewhere in the ship's pipes. They all split up to hunt it down, not really sure what they're dealing with. One guy, Seaver, goes into one of the rooms looking for it, and sees nothing. So he goes out to leave, but the door closes, and Trilby won't let him out. It really shouldn't be too hard. I mean, the cheap sets Corman uses, they can't be that thick of cardboard. Look, they even have to cut away as he's going to throw the chair. That's probably because he would have broke right through it. Anyway, Claire goes to fix a leaky faucet and gets a surprise. Looks like she found the creature. Trilby asks all the crew to go to the R&D room, but come on, Claire's a little busy right now. The others see that Seaver's dead, and Dobler forbids an autopsy, making him look even more like the bad guy. Eventually, O'Neill finds Claire, and it turns out that the creatures have invited her back to their nest. But is it safe? Well, there's only one way to find out, and Claire steals one of the subs with O'Neill's help. While she's out, O'Neill fakes an injury to get alone with the doctor. He needs her to do a proper autopsy on Seaver to see what truly killed him. He knows something fishy's going on here, and I don't mean these fishes. She eventually discovers what we already know, that Seaver died from lack of oxygen, not from any creature attack. Claire continues her journey, being led by the stingray to their nest. Once there, she's able to dock and actually get out and take a look around at this alien environment. That's where she runs into Chadwick, the guy that was out working on repairs. It turns out that he did actually swap suits with one of these creatures to get it on board. But why? Well, these things are actually aliens that just want to help humans to survive. Conveniently, it turns out that these things pump oxygen out as a byproduct, so that's why they can all breathe in here. It's also revealed that another earthquake is coming, and this is going to be one for the record books. Claire rushes back to the base to try to save as many people as she can, but they have their own problems. It turns out, to no one's surprise, that Dobler is in on this whole thing. He knew that they were aliens, and the replacement crew that was coming was actually sent to kill the creatures. Honestly, he's just following orders from those corporate bigwigs, but why do they want to kill the aliens? Just because they're aliens and us dumb monkey brains assume that means they want to hurt us? Well, Claire finally returns and tries to get everyone gathered up, which at this point is really just O'Neill and Dobler. While Claire is running to get O'Neill, Trilby shuts the doors and pumps out the oxygen. Claire and O'Neill will face the same fate as Seaver if they don't act fast. O'Neill manages to break into the main control room, and he starts cutting wires, killing the computer. While he's doing this, one of the stingray creatures is still on board the ship, and he manages to give Claire a helping hand by giving her a little oxygen. Just in time, too, because that giant earthquake starts shaking the whole place. The two leave Dobler, who wasn't really going to help him out anyway, and head back to the nest, where the movie turns into a little environmental PSA for a minute. Basically, the aliens explain that they once lived on a world made of water and used up all of its resources. Now they've come to Earth to help us from making the same mistakes they made. Once they dock, O'Neill and Claire join the rest of the crew that they thought were dead, and everyone lives happily ever after.
How you doing?
Oh, man, it's good to see you.
And that was Lords of the Deep. And in typical Rodger Corman fashion, it was done quick and cheap. I'll start with what I liked. Dobler, I thought, did a good job as the bad guy. At first he seems like he's just their rough commander, but as the movie progresses, you can tell that he's not just following orders, but that he actually enjoys what he's doing. Priscilla Barnes did a good job as Claire, and most of the other actors were just fine, except for Angle, who I didn't talk about much, but trust me, he's overacting at its finest.
They're coming for me, sir. I told you!
The alien creatures were cool looking too. They were cheap, but alright, and the twist ending about them all being good guys was very predictable, but still it worked. I also really liked their jumpsuits. Peak 80s fashion. But that's where what I liked ended, and the rest went downhill. I'm not really sure where to start. The sets, like I've said, were very cheaply made. Sometimes it's just painted PVC pipes sticking out of a wall. Come on guys, you can do better than that. I don't like the preachy, be kind to the environment message either. Maybe some need to hear that, but for me, I watch monster movies to escape from that crap. If you're stuck in a room with only a TV, a DVD player, and a copy of Lords of the Deep, you might be better off just turning off the lights and taking a nap. So, for that reason, I recommend Lords of the Deep for those who have trouble falling asleep. No, I'm pretty hard on it, but there are worse movies out there. If you love underwater creature features, give it a shot. Just don't expect a big budget. I give Lords of the Deep 1.5, putting your bare hand in a jar of alien goo out of 4.
Get out of here!
Hi, how are you?